Hello, everybody. How's it going today? Welcome to the Wednesday stream. I'm Sirius Brightstar, and on today's stream, I have no fucking idea what we're doing. Uh, yeah. Oh, my fucking light isn't on. There we go. That's better. Yeah, I have zero ideas what we're doing today. Actually, that isn't true. The problem is actually kind of the opposite. I have a bunch of ideas, and I have no idea what I want to do for today. Uh, I think is a better summation of what's going on. I was thinking about doing some Final Fantasy 14 for a bit, but with where I am, which is going into Shadowbringers, um, Mana said she wanted to be in the room with me when I started it, and they are on their way to work, so can't really be that. I thought about potentially playing one or two other games, and not saying that we won't. I'm just kind of trying to figure it out. Um, it's kind of between two vastly different games. It's kind of a toss up between Mortal Kombat 11 or Spyro. Um, I I've always been a Mortal Kombat fan. I haven't like owned every single game or anything like that, but I've always loved Mortal Kombat ever since I was a kid. Um, so I bought MK11 the other day because you got the PlayStation Store has a deal going on for it right now where you can get basically the entire game plus all of the DLC fighters and like a couple like exclusive skins for like $15. So I went ahead and did that. And a while ago, I bought the Spyro like reignited trilogy thing or whatever it's called, the like complete HD remakes of the games, because I've never played them. Uh, I didn't have the original PlayStation, the PSX, the PS1, whatever you want to call it. Uh, yeah, I never had that guy. Had an N64, and then I had a PS2. Um, so I never played like the original Spyro games or Crash Bandicoot or anything like that. I had a friend who had a PlayStation, but oh, I thought you were gone.
Not yet. I'm getting ready to head out.
Okay.
Alright. I got us enough cash
Okay.
to ready. You want me to leave the door open?
It's like I say, it doesn't matter. I usually only keep it closed because you're home. Okay. All right. Have fun at work. I'll see you in a bit. I don't know who the fuck that was. Why do I look like I'm at such a weird angle? There we go. I mean, the shot is awful, but whatever. Um, yeah, I never got to play those games. The only friend I knew who had the original PlayStation, I didn't. We weren't really friends. It was more just we were neighbors. Growing up, and he was so like we didn't hang out on a regular basis, and he was much more into like sports and racing, and I was a nerd. So like he only had like a it was like a Hot Wheels game or it was some okay, maybe you guys can help me actually because I have no idea what the game was. Uh because I don't know when like Need for Speed or like any of those series like started or anything, but it was a PS1 racing game, and the song that played for the opening credits, basically like as soon as the game launched, was uh, Metallica's. Oh my god, I'm forgetting the name. It was a Metallica song, The one that starts with "Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire." Hold on. Monitor, are you still here? What's the Metallica song that starts with "Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire"? Is it? Yeah, no, you're right. Yep, Fuel by Metallica. Yeah, so if you know of a PlayStation 1 racing game. No, it was a racing game. Yeah, it was a racing game for the PlayStation 1 that started with Metallica's Fuel as its like theme song. So although I could probably just Google that and figure that out. Uh, Metallica Fuel PS1 racing game. Let's see if that brings up anything. Okay, it was the Hot Wheels game. Hot Wheels Turbo Racing. Uh, that was the game he had. So that was basically the only PlayStation 1 game that I ever played. Um, I didn't get into anything PlayStation till the PS2 came out. Uh, and even then, my initial PS2 experience wasn't super great because the first game I got for it didn't fucking work. Um, I'll try and look up this game as well. It was so the game I got with my PS2 was this like super terrible low budget dragon game by a company I think called CDO. Um, and it worked once, and then every other time after that I would get the if you had a PS2, the red screen error. That's what I would get. CDO PS2 dragon game. Dragon Rage. Uh let me pull this up real quick for you guys. Let's add an image here, shall we? I have no fucking idea how other streamers get images onto their fucking stream so goddamn quick. I mean, maybe there's a drag and drop feature. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, that's it. That was the first ever PS2 game that I got. I got it like with my system. Probably as like a Christmas present or whatever one year. And yeah, it worked once. I played it for like 15 minutes. It was terrible. I think something may have glitched or happened to where like I had to reset it. And then after that, I literally never got it to work again. This game is actually the reason why I distrusted blue discs. I don't know if they had a specific name. If anyone else out there remembers how some PlayStation games. I also never had the original Xbox, so maybe this is true for Xbox as well. I don't know. Some PS2 games, the disc was blue instead of just the, like reflective, clear, whatever, like not having a color. And I always had trouble with those discs. It wasn't 100%, but most of the time, if I had an issue with a PS2 disc, it was a blue disc. Let me look that up actually. PS2 blue disc. Yeah, so hold on. Let me change this real quick. Oh, actually cancel that. I forgot to do the actual thing that I was trying to do. Beep boop bop. Oh, Jesus. This image was a little larger than I anticipated. Ah! Oh my god, why is this picture so fucking big? Jesus fucking Christ. Here. This is what I'm talking about. Jesus. Yeah, so normal disc. Sometimes PS2 games would come in this blue disc. That was my point. See if I can find some info on it. Why were some PS2 discs blue? You know what? Let me bring up my. Let me bring up the browser real quick. Window capture. Let me also fix this because I had it set up for something else. All right. You guys enjoying this? This is live editing. All right. Why were some PS2 discs blue? This is from culturedvultures.com, written by Ash Bates of July 23rd, 2021. All right. The history actually stems back to the PS1 and when it utilized black CD-ROMs. That's right. I forgot that too. Some PS1 games had a black disc. According to different anecdotal sources on the internet, including Retro Only, the black PS1 discs were created for two reasons: branding and anti-piracy. Okay, that makes sense. If they were the only ones making it, then, you know, let's say they made a specific game, or a specific game had a black disc, and it was basically only a black disc. If you got that game and knew it was supposed to be a black disc and opened it up and looked at it and it wasn't, it means you basically got like a bootlegged version or like an unofficial version, or it just wasn't that game at all. So that's okay. That's pretty interesting. Retro Only states that the black discs were designed to look different from other CDs on the market, explaining, quote, "Therefore, to stand out on the gaming market with an original and unique product, Sony used the black discs. Also, black discs had better quality, which made it a good disc for PlayStation. On top of these reasons, we already know that black discs were hard to mimic, as people who pirated games were unable to get a hold of these black discs." Yeah, so just what I was saying. There were some assumptions that the black discs led to some trouble with actually ripping games for piracy purposes, though that's not necessarily proven. But what is known is that the black discs weren't really available outside of Sony's own products. If you bought a PS1 that didn't come on a black CD-ROM, the odds were that you purchased a shady product instead. Okay. So is that the same? Is that basically just the same thing for the PS2? Just new console, new color? The Twitter user @Foon explained on Twitter a few years back that the switch from PS2 CD-ROMs occurred due to the PS2's latent faults regarding the laser in its disk drive. According to Foon, and which has been corroborated by numerous posts on the internet for years, the CD-ROM part of the disk drive would typically be the first to malfunction, meaning players wouldn't be able to enjoy either early PS2 games or PS1 games. Yeah, because I remember the small handful of times that I either rented or bought a PS1 game that happened to be a black disc. Sometimes it would also have issues on the PS2, and I think at the time I just chalked it up to the fact that things can happen often. You know, they were discs, so they got scratched. You know, maybe it was just because it was a PS1 game and I'm playing it on a PS2. There could be some errors. Like, I I never, I guess, really chalked it up to the color, um, or the like the actual system itself. Fun fact: some PS2 discs are blue and some are not. It turns out that PS2 games can be either DVD or CD-ROM, and for whatever reason, they made the CD-ROM ones blue. Okay, so that's the difference. It's still branding, like they intentionally made the discs blue, but it was essentially only as an indicator of what sort of disc it was, and that it was a PS2 game. Uh, okay, neat. That's pretty interesting. Neatest Doritos. uh, what the fuck was I talking about? Yeah, so I was thinking of playing Spyro to loop that back around to why I started that whole rabbit hole. Um, I don't fucking know, guys. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So I was I was thinking of maybe playing some of those games. I was thinking of, working on my thing, the RPG I'm writing again. I've got other games. I've got the Kingdom Hearts ranking thing that we still haven't finished. Although again, so on that part, like I am wanting to finish it and I am going to finish it. I'm kind of just waiting till I have at least one person here who gives a shit about Kingdom Hearts. I don't know. What do I got? I guess I could play Dead Space for a bit. I've got Skyrim. Uh, I've got I've got Valheim that I still haven't played. Um, I have another game, but I'm wanting to save that for a very specific stream or potentially a YouTube video / Let's Play series. I don't know. Uh, I've got Minecraft. I could just I could just be a Minecraft streamer now. That'd probably help me boost my numbers. That's probably what would do it. Um, I don't fucking know, guys. I don't know what to do. It's Wednesday, and it's 4. That's why I'm here. If I only streamed when I had fucking shit to do or ideas for what I'm streaming, I'd hardly ever stream. It's been a minute since we've played Elden Ring, but I also don't feel like playing Elden Ring. I actually can't even remember the last time I played it. Um, oh, hey. Okay, new follower. Sorry I didn't see the notification. I was looking at other things, and it usually plays a noise for me, but I don't have my headphones on. Uh, Boy, could you have picked a more difficult username? Way was Warwarum. Way was Warwarum? If that is it, thank you for the follow. It's very appreciated. Welcome. Yes, I could. Well, yeah, okay, fair enough. Yes, I do suppose there could be a more complicated string of letters that you could have made as a username for an English speaker to pronounce. Um, so, yes, okay, I suppose you are correct. Uh, yes, you could have. Okay. I see a fucking umlaut in there. That ain't fair. Am I going to try this? Okay. Also, I'm going to ask you something, and this is only because it's just 3 words. I'm guessing that meant to say like butchered together or something like that. Um, yeah, I figured it like meant something for you, or something like that. Usually, I would imagine like 80% of the time a username like actually means something and isn't just like just pure like um no need to apologize. I'm just busting your ovaries. Um uh so the long thing you sent, I'm going to ask you a question about it, and the only reason I even ask this is actually because of that U with an umlaut over it. Um, is that an actual name? Like, is that one of those like long, ridiculous, like Swedish or Finnish names, and that's an actual thing you pulled from somewhere, or did you just smash the keyboard? And hi, Dart. This isn't your first time in chat. I didn't think you'd ever been on my stream before in chat. Huh. Um, a German word. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Uh, in that case, since it isn't nonsense, I'm gonna leave that one alone because I don't feel like offending anybody today. Uh, for fuck's sake, I'm so. How many years have you been torturing me with this, Dart? How many years have you been saying that word to me? And again, I know what it's just like couch or something, isn't it? Like you fucking condition me to where if I ever actually like speak to a German person or go to Germany again, which I would love to do, or start learning German or anything like that, you're going to fucking trigger me. Um it's a past tense of to go. Well, great. That should never come up. And a decade. Yeah. No, probably longer than that. If you were learning German in high school, uh that's closer to like 15 years ago, which is goddamn ridiculous. Freshman year? So 14 years. Yeah, so freshman year for us was 2005. No, 2004 or 2005 because we graduated in '09. Fun fact in German, umfahren is to drive over something, but also to drive around something. Yeah, that's one of those language things that's like, as a learner of a language, you always like look at stuff like that and are like, why? That seems confusing. Why wouldn't you have something to separate those things? That just seems like every time it would come up in conversation, you would have to ask about it. And it's like, yes. Sometimes that just is the answer. Because like I don't know, something similar came up in a conversation with my partner the other day where I said a word and they were like, "Oh, did you mean this or did you mean that?" And I had to explain it, but like I didn't blame them. It was just like a, "Oh yeah," and so I just explained it and then we moved on. And it's like anytime I've attempted to learn a language and learn about those things, it's just so frustrated where like, why can't it just be this way? And it's like, I doubt any language is that way, is like 100% like doesn't have any contradictions, doesn't have any like case sensitive phrases or anything like that. Like every language has confusing fucking bits to it. Um Also, how dare you say this is my first time? I'm supportive sometimes. Yeah, I've so okay, like again, like you are like very much so. I just also understand, like I've never been upset with you because I also understand that this isn't like your thing. Like you usually don't go on Twitch just to watch a streamer and you don't really do like social media or anything, so like I don't expect you to like the Facebook page, like it on Twitter, subscribe to the YouTube channel, all three of which I do have, and the links are in the are on the Twitch channel here. But of course I always appreciate it. uh yeah, I know. Why is everybody coming up as red in my chat box? I didn't think. Is that a setting I have? Visual settings. Nope. I think it's just luck of the draw that you guys are just coming up as the same color. Clean. Is a clean theme. Which is actually what I want. I don't fucking know. You guys came in right after a in text chat we are slightly different shape. Yeah, so and that I do see. So in the in Streamlabs, the program that I run stream through and where it's broadcast from, I have like it has chat pulled up and I can see what essentially what you guys on Twitch have. So Dart with you with that like kind of just normal light-ish blue, and the other person having a kind of more teal lighter blue. So I can see that. But as you guys are seeing, when the chat comes up over here, you're both basically the same color of red. And I have no idea why. Yeah, no, I guess I was just surprised because like I'm guessing the first time you would have chatted on this channel was the first time I was streaming with it, like last year. Um but I only streamed like maybe 3 times. And I don't remember what happened in any of them. One of them was like a you laugh, you lose kind of thing. And that's all I remember. I don't remember what the other ones were. Interesting. On my screen, I'm a red, and they are a slightly different shade of pinkish red. Okay, well then I guess it's still telling that there's a difference, but it's not grabbing the actual colors, which is annoying. Fresh browser when C becomes active, control audio, yeah, blah blah blah. Yeah, I don't really have a way of changing that, which is annoying. I don't know why Streamlabs would change the color of people chatting. Yeah, nothing I can do about it. Yeah, you guys came in just as I finished up an entire conversation with myself, research included, on why some PS2 games had a blue disc and why some PlayStation 1 games had a black disc. And then a lot of the other ones didn't. Dart, you're not. I don't want to. I don't know how much you want me to say or not. You're not from here. Was it the same? Like, did some? I guess by the time you got here, the PlayStation 2 was out. So anything you bought for the PS2 would have been here. But did some PS1 games have a black disc? I'd be interested. I'm guessing so with what I learned about them, but oh, sorry if anyone watching doesn't like that noise, but well, it happened. That's weird. Well, yeah, basically what I found out is it was basically just a choice. It was branding, and where I'm from, most PS1 games were bootlegs. Fair enough. So actually, that meant so like CDs. Yeah. So that checks out because basically what I found out was that it was a choice that Sony made as a deterrent for piracy and bootlegging and things like that, because they essentially said like Sony produced those discs. So if you got a PS1 game that you knew was supposed to be a black disc and it wasn't, it meant that you were likely getting like a pirated or bootleg game. I have exactly one disc with a black bottom, and I'm guessing it was either bought online, given to you as a gift, or bought in a store once you got here. It was a gift. Well, there we go. So, yeah. So there we are with that. Yeah, from what I can tell for the PS1 games, there wasn't a distinct reason beyond just a stylistic choice, and again to help them like prevent piracy and things like that. But for the PS2, with the I don't know if you ever got a PS2 game that had a blue disc. There was a huge difference in price. It was $60 versus $5, and Argentina, Argentina, didn't crack down on that at all. Yeah, I figured so. I don't even know if they necessarily did official releases in that reason. The choice you had at that time may have only been to bootleg or pirate. The PS1 you bought from the game store was already moved to read bootlegs or modded. Okay, was already modded. Yeah, because that's what I'm saying is like I doubt that the Argentine region even got like official releases of anything. So at that point, it's like the market was basically only bootlegs and pirated versions and things like that. But so once you got here, because you had a PS2, I'm sure. Did you ever have a game with a blue disc instead of a quote unquote regular disc? I got such a drippy cup. Honestly, not sure. Okay. So, do I still have the? Yeah, they looked like that. Kind of this darkish blue. Um, so some of once they switched to the PS2, some of the reasoning was the same. Like a lot of early PS2 games that were made like directly by Sony had the were blue discs just for like branding purposes. But it turns out it was also a distinction between DVDs and CD-ROMs. And I was saying this earlier on stream before you got on. I had a handful of blue disc games, throughout the time that I had the PS2, and they were so much more finicky and unreliable. Um, I would more often with blue disc games than a regular disc get the like the red screen from the PS2 saying that it couldn't read the disc. Um, and it turns out that's because so the blue discs were CD-ROMs, the regular discs were DVD-ROMs. And it just turns out that I think they said it was the laser technology in the PS2 just couldn't read the CD-ROMs as well. Had very little to do with the coloring of the disc. It was just like the format itself of it being a CD versus a DVD. I have never looked up the technical difference between a CD and a DVD? Do you know what it is? Because, like, really for us at the time, the only difference between a, like, CD and a DVD were CDs were music and DVDs were movies. Um, I also didn't know that that's what DVD, the V in DVD stood for. I always thought it was video, but it's versatile. Um, let's take a look at this, shall we? A lot of people were also buying PS2s that time because it was a DVD player, and DVD players were expensive. Yeah. It was the same with the PS4 when it came out, because it came out the same time as Blu-ray, and Blu-ray players were so goddamn expensive. Same thing happened. Oh, PS3. Okay. Yeah, same thing happened with PS3 and Blu-rays, if I remember right. Yeah, it was the same thing, because it was a most of the PS3 discs were Blu-ray discs, because of the much higher amount of data that they could store. And yeah, Blu-ray players at the time were like $500 to $600 themselves. All right, so main difference between CD and DVD. CD stands for... Okay, that just tells me what it... Okay, CD stands for compact disc. It's a type of optical disc used for storing bits of data. DVD used specifically for storing digital or video data. Wow, I didn't know this. The storage capacity of a CD is 700 megabytes. The storage capacity of a DVD ranges from 4.7 gigs to 17 gigs. Man, at the time, those are crazy numbers. Like, you didn't think of gigabytes back then. Was it PS2 or PS3 where America built a supercomputer from? I don't quite remember. I think those were PS2s. I think it was like a huge PS2 farm. Let me check that too, because I basically got the answer for this. PS2 supercomputer. Let's see if that pulls it up. Yeah. There's an article from 2003 saying the next supercomputer, your PS2. Oh, boy. I'm seeing a lot of pictures. Oh, I think this is what... Okay, so it was the PS3. Because I think this is what you're thinking of. U.S. Air Force connects 1,760 PlayStation 3s to build, and then I'm guessing the answer was like one large supercomputer. Yeah. Yeah, that looks like that was a... And that's from 2010. Yeah, so that was the PS3. Your comment on gigs reminded me that my first MP3 player held 10 songs. Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. Wow. I think if you're from that time, you remember tape players, CD players, and then we moved to MP3 players. I wonder what the first MP3 player was, because everyone assumes the iPod, right? But it wasn't that. It was just that the iPod revolutionized the MP3 player because of how much it could store and the fact that it had a screen on it. So you could actually, like, a nice screen with, like, organization. First commercial MP3 player. Wow, fuck that one up. The MP Man F10. Yeah. That looks about right. Oh, I wonder how much it can store. I wonder what the storage for that thing is. Um, and this was an article written in 2008 when this thing was 10 years old. So it came out in like 98. My first one had a USB connector built into it and a crappy screen, and it was like 50 megs. Yeah. What literally blows my mind is that the computer used for the moon landing was as big as a room. Nowadays, you technically could do it with a graphical calculator. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Computer. Well, computers back then were a series of enormous machines that usually took up, like, they had to have their own designated room for one what we would consider a computer. um it says right here, the F10 contained 32 megabytes of flash storage, enough for a handful of songs encoded at 128 kilobits per second. Um, Manufactured by Korea's Saihan Information Systems and launched in March 1998. Wow. Um, yeah, the fact that smartphones exist continuously blows my mind. Dude, I think that all the fucking time of how, like, so they haven't been around too long in terms of, human history. So I get it, but it still shocks me that most people are still like, they'll still walk around just wondering things, like, they'll people will walk around and just be like, oh, I wonder this, oh, I wonder that, or second guessing themselves on this and that, as if almost as if it's like not almost every single person has a a thing this big in their pockets with access to almost all of human information all of the fucking time. Like you can't just look something up. Like, yeah, exactly. Like, here's all human knowledge in your pocket. Yeah, and people will still go around being like, oh, I wonder why this. And then just shrug it off. And it's like, go look it up then. Like, you can learn this information at any point. That's all I've been doing this stream. I've been sitting here trying to figure out shit to do or to talk about. And then I'll get on a tangent about something and be like, oh, I wonder this. Oh, right. I'm on the goddamn internet right now. Let me just go look it up. Because what started it? Oh, earlier I was talking. I was discussing about the ideas I had for stream today, and it was between a couple games. One of which is a remake of a PlayStation 1 game, and so that and I said, like, I'd never played like Spyro or Crash because I didn't have a PS1. The only person around me who even had one, we weren't really friends, and they were more into like wrestling and racing and things like that. So I didn't really like go to their house to play it too often because he only had one game, and it was a racing game. I remember it was a game that had to do with cars on the PS1 with Metallica's Fuel as like the title song. And I was just sitting here and I was like, yeah, I have no idea what that game was, though. If anyone out there could help me. I was like, I could just Google that. And I did. I got the answer immediately. I just typed in, like, PS1 Racing Metallica Fuel, and instantly it came up. It was a Hot Wheels racing game, by the way. No, it wasn't Twisted Metal. Mana actually said the same thing. And I mostly use it to play crappy mobile games. Yeah. No, she guessed the same thing, but it was Hot Wheels. Hot Wheels Turbo Racing. Is this game right here? Yeah, this was it. And yeah, so again, 5 seconds. Something I've been curious about remembering for like, again, like 10, 15 years, and I just never just fucking Googled it. And then again, like we got on the subject of like the different colored discs, and I was like, I wonder why they did that. Why don't I look it up? It just astounds me that so many people can just walk through life not just Googling these things. And maybe it is just me, because every time it happens, anytime I'm in a conversation with my partner Mana, and I and that happens, like either they say like, "Oh, I wonder so and so," or I do the same thing, she just pauses and looks at me, and I know what she's doing. She's waiting for me to pick up my phone and Google it, because I do. Um because the first time I remember doing that, I was laying awake in bed one day, and I just thought of the word ball. Oh, I think I had been talking to my mom that day, and I asked her what my first word was, and it was ball. And I was just sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, what is the word ball? Like, why do we call it that? Why do we call a spherical object a ball? Like, what ball. Like where's it come from? So I looked it up. It came from some German journal, was, I think they said, like the first instance of it ever being used. Uh yes, I once discussed an electrical question with a friend. We ended up deciding that a human made hive mind is probably better to travel through space over multiple generations. What? We ended up deciding that a hive mind is probably better to travel through space over multiple generations. Oh, okay. I think I see what you mean. Um, yeah, but how the fuck would we even? I mean, I guess we've been. I'm sure there's been people working on this shit for years about essentially like downloading your consciousness. Um, whether that will ever be a thing, but I don't think that will happen until we can figure out what consciousness is, right? Not the most. Uh, yeah, so it really, because you can just. It's so difficult because obviously we've essentially come to a point where we know how, relatively speaking, how the brain works, right? We know that it's a combination of electrical signals and chemicals in our folded meat jelly. And that's like how it works. But we still don't, and we know like certain regions do certain things, and you can, probe and mess with things to you know, to affect someone. People who've gotten like traumatic brain injuries have had like personality shifts, and act completely different like after surviving an accident. Um, so, you know, all that can be affected, but like, then why can't we just like put a brain in a jar and like shoot it full of electricity and it just like fucking work, right? Um, the thing Elon Musk is working on, the brain thing, he probably could be used. I think. Is Elon Musk working on a brain thing? Elon Musk brain thing. The billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk's brain chip startup is preparing to launch clinical trials in humans. Jesus. Musk, who co-founded Neuralink in 2016, has promised that the technology, quote, will enable someone with paralysis to use a smartphone with their mind faster than someone using thumbs. Okay. Um Yeah, like I've always wondered when we were gonna get to the technology of, essentially being able to control things mentally. Um, as cool as it sounds, though, I have a bit of a fear about it, and it's because of a book that I read in high school called Feed, not The Feed, which was, I feel like, a ripoff of it, and I can, oh god, are we going down this rabbit hole? Um, there it is. Um, yeah, this was it. Feed by M.T. Anderson. Um, so there was and the reason I bring up why it's Feed and not The Feed is because I think like Amazon produced a series or something called The Feed that had essentially the exact same premise, an exceptionally similar premise, but it was not an adaptation of this book. This author M.T. Anderson had nothing to do with it. Um, but the essentially the premise of both of those things was a um, human history, like near future sci-fi, where people got uh, chips implanted in their brains that allowed them to use, basically like a UI, like a heads-up display for like all of their information, to use the internet. Um, but the process had to be done upon birth. Like it had to be done when you were a baby so that the chip grew with you and in you so that the body did not recognize it as a foreign body and tried to like kill you to kill it. Um, and without any spoilers, it's kind of as far as I'll go. Oh, hey, Quotons, how you doing? Uh, Elon Musk's face looks like he smells like dog farts. Feed is by M.T. Anderson. Feed is like a cyberpunk John Green novel. Yeah, for sure. Hop off. How was yeah? Thanks a lot for joining, Dart. Of course, you hop off uh, as soon as Quotons gets on. I see what it's about. I see what it's really about. Um, yeah. Quotons, weren't you the one who gave me this book in the first place? So I think it was you that let me borrow it. You, there were two books you let me borrow during our time in high school that still to this day are like some of my favorites, and like I hate to sound this dramatic, but literally pretty much like changed my life because like they're still some of my favorites, and I still go back to read them constantly. Um, and that's this book, Feed. I always think about this, and I always thought that it should have gotten like an adaptation into something. Uh, and The Last Book in the Universe, one of my absolute favorite books. And I had always said that if I was ever going to write a if I was ever going to like do a movie, if I was ever going to write one or direct one or whatever, it would be an adaptation of that. Which I understand the almost irony in making a movie out of something called The Last Book in the Universe. Um, that one in the last. Yep. Yeah, I absolutely love that book, and I think it would make a phenomenal screenplay. Um, with how media has changed in the last few years, I would actually probably say, I don't know. I was gonna say it may do better as like a limited series instead, but I think you could get most of I think the last book in the universe could be adapted to like a 2-hour movie well enough. Uh yeah, that could happen. And of course, yeah, like tracking, hacking, less privacy, radiation, and so on. But hey, it's not there yet, so let's see how it goes. Yeah, for sure. It's only 2022. Feed better as a series, last book as a movie. I'll agree with that. Feed was definitely more. It was definitely denser. There's definitely a lot more there, and I think with Feed is so much more of like a character story than it is anything like the the world it is set in is interesting enough, but like Feed isn't really about the world that it's set in. Like it's not about like the microchips or about like what they can do with them. Like that's not really what drives the story. What drives the story was, you know, the relationship between the main character and the it's been Feed, I will say, like it is my favorite, and I haven't read it in probably a decade. The main female character, like that story is so much more about their relationship and what happens during it than just like the fact that it's this sci-fi cyberpunk thing with you know, brain chips. Um, LB is a kid's book technically, so it's pretty short comparatively. Yeah. Yeah, nothing bad happened in the last few years. Um, yeah, so I definitely see Feed better as a TV series. More again because it's more dense and there's more story to tell. And yeah, it would be longer. It would be better under a longer format, and I think would make the ending of it that much more impactful if like the audience, you know, really got attached. Um, there's something else I was gonna say about that, and I do not remember what the fuck it was. Fuck, I completely blanked. There was something I was gonna bring up about. Ah, fuck. I'm okay. Uh, oop, hello. Jesus. Yeah, I cannot remember it all. Um, so did you see Quotons? That I think Amazon ripped off this book. I remember a couple years ago there was a it was an Amazon show, I believe, and I'll look it up here in a second. Amazon came out with a show called The Feed. It was either a show or a movie, and it was called The Feed, and it essentially had the exact same concept in terms of like it was about people with brain chips that could use it for like the internet. But then it like was so much worse because it like didn't have anything to do with like interpersonal relationships and you know, comments on society and things like that. It just like it did become kind of like a cyberpunky sort of thing. Yeah, I think Liz had started to watch it at one point, and I talked a bunch of shit for being a ripoff. Yeah, because yeah, like Anderson had nothing to do with it. It wasn't like an adaptation of the book or anything. Um, Amazon, The Feed. Yeah, The Feed. Yeah, so 2019, it had one season. In near future London, a man invents a brain implant that allows people to instantly share thoughts and emotions. However, when the technology falls into the wrong hands, users start to become murderous and the inventor's family are driven apart. So, yeah, you know, it's so clear that whoever wrote that show, whoever started that show or whatever, it was either that somebody or you know, somebody out there read Feed by Anderson and then was like, well, this would be really cool. And instead of just attempting to adapt it, just took the concept. And again, it's also not hard to say that someone else came up with the idea for a brain chip implant that lets you use the internet, because that's actually literally happening. But it's also like, it's I think it's the name, because it's literally the exact same name, just they put the in front of it. They just took the Anderson idea and made it lowest common denominator sci-fi. Yeah, like they took a really interesting concept, and instead of taking it in an interesting direction, just made it like an action movie. Um uh yeah, so that's like, I didn't watch it. Clearly the few people who didn't really like it either. 57% on Rotten Tomatoes, 6.2 out of 10 on IMDb, 78% of Google users. Um, it only had the one season. I haven't heard a single thing about it since then. I'm guessing it got canceled. Uh, oh, I guess it's just in limbo, which is even worse. As of May 13th, 2022, the feed has not been canceled or renewed for a second season. Well, there you go. Yeah, it just sucks because, like, the unfortunate thing is you cannot copyright an idea. I guess that isn't unfortunate, but it does suck sometimes when things like this happen. Because this and same thing happened with Repo, the genetic opera. Um, Lionsgate picked it up, and then for whatever reason just refused to like pump any money into it besides the bare minimum, and then didn't do anything with it, which sucked because the original creators of it wanted to do everything with it, but now since they signed it over to Lionsgate, they weren't able to do so. And then, again, Lionsgate never did anything with it, barely showed it in theaters, barely advertised it. Basically, it. I don't understand, why would you greenlight a project and allow it to happen if you're not going to do anything with it? Like, it just fucking astounds me. Just because, like, obviously the only thing these guys think about is money, right? So why wouldn't you try to make the most money out of you that you could out of a project? Like, intentionally. It's so fucking stupid. The only thing I could think of is that they, like, intentionally tried to make it a cult hit by not releasing it. But, like, and they did. But the problem with that is that, like, none of the money that comes out of something being a cult hit really goes back to the studio in any meaningful way. So, like, I have no, if anything, it just made everybody upset with them. So, like, I have zero idea what the fuck Lionsgate did with it. But it was the same thing of, like, so there's Repo the Genetic Opera, which came out in whatever year it was, probably like 2007 or so. And then just a couple years later, maybe also by Lionsgate, I'm not sure. I'll have to look the studio up. We got the movie, like, that was just called, like, The Repo Men or Repo Men. And it was the same fucking concept. There was a large pandemic that caused organ failures. A company appeared that could provide organs. But if you couldn't pay for it, you could be put on a payment plan. But if you defaulted on your payments, the company sent out repo men to repossess those organs. Same fucking concept, except one of them did it in an incredible, dark, gothic rock opera, and one of them made a January release action movie that everybody forgot about, except the people who like Repo the Genetic Opera, because we knew about the ripoff. Most Amazon shows are 1 or 2 seasons and then left in production hell because they're all bad and didn't make enough money. They just keep churning out junk in the hopes of striking it big, like they have a couple times. Netflix too. I guess they figure if they get one hit out of every 20 shitty ideas, then the money they make off the good ones will offset the cost of the flops. It would be better if they did fewer series and just make them better, but maybe I'm a radical. Same thing with like it seems like both Netflix and Amazon just have this their strategy is we'll just take all this shit and just throw it at the fucking wall, and whatever sticks. It's like they just, and I guess if you're that big of a corporation, like you can afford to do so, but it's like the same thing you say is like, why? Like, how is that? Again, the only thing I can think of that they're trying to do is just every single project's a hope, right? Like, unless it's an adaptation of something they already know is successful, like the upcoming Lord of the Rings show, it's all just in the hopes that that project that they took a chance on is going to get their hooks into people and it'll take off, right? That's what they're hoping with every single project. But when your success rate is like 10%, maybe you need to slow the fuck down, go back to some analytics, and see where things are working, and then do those things. I hope that Disney didn't screw up Kenobi like they did with the sequels. Yeah, so obviously Kenobi is a show that they're hoping. Essentially, what I see for them is like, and again, this is going more corporate, not the people like actually working on it who enjoy the property and know these characters and things like that. So from a business / corporate standpoint, what they're hoping for with Kenobi, and probably why they greenlit it in the first place, was they are hoping two things are going to drive the success of this show. The big one being the nostalgia factor, and the second one being riding off the coattails of the Mandalorian's success, right? That was probably also their hope with the Book of Boba Fett, and why half of that show is about the Mandalorian and hardly Boba Fett. But that's what they were banking on with that show, right? Was the nostalgia of the character of Boba Fett and people wanting to see more of him, and riding off the success of the Mandalorian. And it, in my opinion, wasn't a great show. But although Boba is a very well-liked and well-known character, he also isn't really like super high tier in terms of like the Star Wars canon, right? Kenobi, very different. Even in the prequels, which are generally considered terrible movies because on the whole they are, Ewan McGregor did such a phenomenal job in his role with the writing that he was given that he is such a beloved character, right? And everyone has wanted to see essentially this story that they're like going to be telling for so long. Like, we always wanted to know, how did he go from end of Revenge of the Sith, 20 to however many, 19 years, and then A New Hope, right? Like, we've wanted to see that story. The Star Wars TV content has remained good, like Mando in the animated series, so I think Kenobi will be good. It's just the main series movies that were garbage. Boba wasn't bad, I think, but it could have been better. Yeah, like Boba itself was fine, just in comparison to how good Mando was, it fell flat. Yeah, and like, again, bolstered by the fact that so it seems like they basically just used Book of Boba Fett to bridge Mando season 2 to 3, but like, that feels so unfair to the character of Boba to begin with. Like, so the show was, what, 6 episodes maybe? And 2 of those focused on the Mandalorian. Like, there was an episode of the Book of Boba Fett that was just an episode of the Mandalorian. Boba didn't appear in it. Or he was in it for like maybe 5 minutes, and then the rest of it was about the Mandalorian. And it's like, Why? Just do like a if you needed that story that you wanted to take place between season 2 and 3 of The Mandalorian, just come out with like a special. Like if you don't want to dedicate like an entire episode of The Mandalorian to the story that they told in the Book of Boba Fett, just do like just do a special and just, say it takes place in between those two and like let that be the bridge and let Boba have his own fucking thing. You know, a cameo of Din in The Mandalorian, fine. But like to dedicate that much time to him just really felt unfair. I just hope they keep the final Kenobi / Maul fight as it was in the animated series, maybe the best duel in all of Star Wars. I like the prequels, still not the best, and the sequels had potential, but they tried too hard to kind of recreate the original trilogy, and this was the main issue, I think. I know exactly what happened with the sequel trilogy, and it doesn't excuse any of what happened. I just, generally speaking, know what happened. And again, not that this affected every single aspect of it or every single reason why they came out the way they did, but so it seems like very few people know this, because most of the people I tell are completely shocked when I tell them this. Disney did not have a story written out for those movies when they started making them. And by that, I mean, you would think a corporation as enormous as Disney, who is now taking on the monumental cultural task of making a new Star Wars trilogy, like the next episodic trilogy, would plan it out a little better, right? They didn't, and essentially handled it a movie at a time. How we know that is because, J.J. Abrams, helped write and then directed episode 7. And then he left and wasn't coming back for episode 8. Said he wasn't coming back to the series at all. And so they got Ryan Johnson to do episode 8. Ryan Johnson eventually basically came out and said that the reason why episode episode 8 feels so disjointed from episode 7 and went in so many weird and different directions and decisions is because he came in with nothing. There was no outline for what Disney wanted from the trilogy. There was no story. He didn't know where to take the threads that were started in episode 7 because he didn't know where the fuck JJ intended for them to go. Okay? So, is episode 8 good? Subjective. I personally actually enjoyed it. But I see its flaws, and I understand. I understand why people did not like the decisions that were made in that movie and the directions they went. I understand. I am just personally okay with them, and I enjoy watching that movie. And I also now go in with the understanding that this was a man who maybe fell flat, but did his fucking best with the task of making the middle movie in the new Star Wars trilogy. I cannot fathom that amount of pressure, okay? So I give Johnson a decent amount of leeway with what happened with episode 8. Um, but obviously, the cultural reaction was so negative that for episode 9, JJ came back to a project he didn't want to do to essentially, you know, course correct as best as he could with what Johnson left him, right? And that's why, like, if you watch episode 9, the first, like, 30-45 minutes feel so fucking rushed because he's basically just, you know, covering ground and trying to get, like, as I said, kind of like course correct for the narrative he was left with to fit the narrative that he had in mind. And it's just like there's so many times that it just feels like something really should have been done about fucking any of that, right? Like like and maybe some of these things were attempted and just either they didn't work out or they didn't happen or fucking whatever. Like, who fucking knows? But I just feel like a meeting like even just between, not even like a whole like corporate thing, but just literally Abrams and Johnson going out for like a lunch or, you know, like a dinner or just something, just meeting up, and just Johnson being like, hey, like I know like you're doing your own thing, like you're not coming back, like you don't want anything to do with this anymore. Like, I get that, but you have to understand, I'm coming into this now, and I don't know if you have anything, but Disney hasn't given me anything. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know what your intentions were. Can you maybe give me some of what your ideas were so I can, like, go off of that? Like, how fucking easy is that? Just one afternoon of like a good decent like 2-hour talk could have potentially saved that entire trilogy. Um and it just seemed like that never fucking happened. Um you know, obviously we are getting new movies coming out. I think there was some stuff in the news today that says that like whatever the next Star Wars movie project is, it's going to be helmed by Taika Waititi, which I am boner excited for. I cannot wait for whatever insanity that's going to be, cuz so far there hasn't been something that he has done that I haven't enjoyed. I haven't seen everything. I still haven't seen Jojo Rabbit, and I think he just came out with another new movie that I haven't seen, and I also have yet to because I don't have HBO Max at the moment. I haven't watched the new his new show that came out. I can't remember the pirate show that he made. I haven't seen that yet either. Uh, uh, Our Flag Means Death is the pirate show that he's doing. Let's see, I haven't checked chat in a minute. Probably won't appear in the show. Ryan Johnson is getting another Star Wars movie. Ryan Johnson's getting another Star Wars movie? What? Eagle vs. Shark is a classic? What the fuck are you talking about? Oh, I'm guessing a Taika Waititi thing. Google, what the I search Ryan Johnson new Star Wars movie, and it's like, you wanted Knives Out too? No, I didn't. Uh Ryan Johnson's Star Wars trilogy is on hold, says Lucasfilm. Ryan Johnson's Star Wars trilogy has been delayed. Star Wars confirms the truth about Ryan Johnson's trilogy. Okay, so I didn't even know there was one. Let's check Wikipedia, the definitive source for all Star Wars information. A new Star Wars a new Star Wars trilogy will be created by Ryan Johnson. Johnson, who wrote and directed Star Wars Episode 8, will write and direct the first film of the trilogy. And the film will be produced by longtime collaborator Ram Bergman. The films will be separate from the Skywalker saga and will explore new characters from an unexplored area of Star Wars lore. The new trilogy was announced by Lucasfilm on November 9th, 2017, with no release date yet released. Okay, so maybe I just forgot about it. Interesting name for a Star Wars film, yeah. Not just one movie, by the way, another trilogy. Yeah. Well, so again, my thing is like, so again, as I said, I liked Episode 8. I understand it didn't fit, but I also understand that Ryan was doing the best with what he had, which was barely anything. However, I do understand the sentiment of like, then why the fuck would you give him an entire trilogy? The only thing I could think of is that their thoughts are, okay, if one guy is doing the writing for all three, then that should make it okay, right? And maybe, but maybe get the right person to do it. Let's check out his filmography, like his non-Star Wars stuff. Because maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just maybe I just like him. Let's see. Brick, The Brothers Bloom, The Mountain Goats, Looper. Okay, so I don't know much of his early stuff. Looper I saw and I liked it enough. So okay, here's the other thing. At least in terms of films, he went from basically nothing, doing like a just a documentary about the mountain goats, and then Looper, which while not like a huge film, was still like, it was meant to be, like a summer blockbuster, and stars Bruce Willis and what's his name? I feel so bad. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. So like two huge stars on a huge movie. And then immediately after that is like, hey, you want Star Wars? So I get the pressure. And then I also I loved Knives Out. I loved that movie, and I'm very excited for the second one to be coming out. Did some short films like back in the 90s and everything, which I'm guessing was more of his like maybe student type stuff. He directed multiple episodes of Breaking Bad, all three of which are some of the greatest episodes in the series. Fly, 51, and Ozymandias. What incredible episodes those were. Don't know the other ones. Looks like he did some music videos and had like technical credits and other things. He has an acting role in The Last Jedi as Luke Skywalker's hand. I would love to look at the credits for that film to see if that's like, as the credits are scrolling by and it's Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill, all this shit, and you even get down to like first order technician number 1, technician number 2, and everything, and then you just get to the bottom and it's just Luke Skywalker's hand, Ryan Johnson. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, I understand that Episode 8 is a very divisive movie, and the sequel trilogy is relatively divisive as well, as to whether you like it or not. I think I like Ryan Johnson. In March 2010, Johnson announced that he was directing an episode of the TV series Breaking Bad for its third season, the episode Fly. Johnson directed a second episode of the show, 51, which aired. Yeah, all three of these were like enormous fucking episodes for Breaking Bad, and incredible ones. Um, yeah, I don't know. I like Ryan Johnson stuff. Um, Now that doesn't necessarily translate to Star Wars. You know, like you can be really good at a lot of things, and it just doesn't translate to like a specific genre or a certain series. Like you could be a fantastic fantasy writer, but maybe you wouldn't be the best at the helms of something like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones or some sort of property like that. Um, I think the bigger surprise should be about J.J. Abrams. Like if you're of the opinion that all the entire sequel trilogy is just terrible, right? Then that includes two films by J.J. Abrams, who clearly has a much more um, liked portfolio, um, but was I'm not going to say was the cause, but like was definitely more of a cause of like shit happening in the sequel trilogy than Ryan. Um, he made one decent Star Wars movie that was basically just, a rehash of A New Hope, and then fucking bounced and didn't leave jack shit for anybody else to pick up the pieces. And then when surprisingly that didn't go well, he came back and was like, "No, no, no, I'll fix it." It's like you should have fucking done it in the first place. Um, it's like Deadpool 2 and Brad Pitt with the Luke Skywalker hand. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. He played the invisible character, and what was the story that like the like single day that he had to come in for shooting to get that shot of him getting electrified, like he didn't like get paid or anything. They just gave him like a cup of coffee, and he's like, okay, that's my Brad Pitt impression. Okay. um yeah, I don't know, like I'm just gonna feel like a broken record, but I think Johnson did the best with what he was given, which wasn't a lot, with an unfathomable amount of responsibility, and still managed to come out with, in my opinion, a pretty enjoyable flick. That's my opinion. Um, yeah, I'm super looking forward to Kenobi. Obviously, we know that Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader is going to appear multiple times. Like they're going to have more than one duel. Um, but I hope they don't. As much as I would just watch 6 episodes of the two of those guys fighting, um, I do hope they play it a little uh, better than that. That it's not just schlock, just to try to drive up the numbers. The interview with Ryan Reynolds about that is awesome. Yeah. Mm. I haven't heard anything, but I wonder if there's any news about Deadpool 3. Like actual news. Um. Oh yeah, there was some things that came out today, wasn't there? Please, the battles are as slow as in the original trilogy. Yeah, so that's the other thing too, right? Like the very first lightsaber fight that we get, A New Hope. It's between those two, right? And it is very, it's You see the like Japanese and samurai film influence the most there, right? It isn't this, big swinging fucking awesome shit. It's it's very calm, calculated. There's like little movements, and then couple strikes, and then they back off a little bit. Like a real fight. Um, so you definitely see the influence in like where Lucas had for like Star Wars as a whole there. Uh, and then like some of the later fights are they start to get like a little more fight sceney, a little more wild, but they still had this kind of calmness to it. Like there wasn't constantly like big thrumming music playing the whole time. Like they kind of just let it go, and then during those intense moments would start the music or have those stings in there. And I do kind of miss that. I like the flashy, I like the big cool jumping around and all the all the techniques and whatnot, but I would also be okay with a bit of a return to a more subdued duel. Obviously, like Quotons was saying earlier, like if they do introduce a mall aspect to the Kenobi show, that their duel is much more like that, where it isn't some big drawn out action scene. It's just you know two masters knowing what they're doing and getting the job done quick. They were filmed with glass tubes. Yes, they were. They were. Let me look that up actually. What did they use for lightsabers in A New Hope? A graphics flash similar to the one used for Lucifer during the film A New Hope. Made from graphic camera slide flash. The lightsaber was made from a... Okay, but what about the actual blade? I think it's not so what it may have been was not a glass tube, like they didn't attach like a fluorescent light to it. It may have been fiberglass. Maybe seeing how Kenobi slowly transforms from his fast battling to his calm and calculated style would be the best. Yeah, like obviously in this, he has aged, maybe slowed down a little bit. And that was the other contributing factor that a lot of people say, again, in hindsight now, to that duel between, Obi-Wan and Vader in A New Hope is, these aren't two young, spry, adrenaline-filled, young men anymore. This is an old man who has spent almost the entirety of 19 years in hiding, stressed, on a desert planet with two fucking suns in the backwaters of the galaxy, and a man who has spent that entire time in a intentionally uncomfortably designed prosthetic suit, who can't breathe on his own and doesn't have the same use of his limbs as he used to because they got fucking cut off and then he got set on fire. So they're not going to be in the best of shape, right? So yeah, a showing of an adaptation to style would be interesting. Kind of slowly showing how they get there. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. It'll be interesting one way or the other. I'll be happy if it's a very violent clash, and I'll be happy if it's a slow, calculated duel. The Kenobi slash Maul showdown reminds me a lot of the Kung Fu samurai movie tropes like you see in the movie Hero, where two masters imagine the entire battle before they do it and already know who's going to win, so they skip all the flourishing and just get to the end of it because they're both so good that they don't have to find out what happens. They already know. Yeah. Again, because it's like when you're at that level, and like you see it all the time in like actual martial arts duels and things like that. Like if you look at like actual like samurai like duels and things like that, those things aren't swords clashing and everything for 10 minutes. It's at most 3 moves, like, because that's the whole point, is you're trying to kill this person, and usually it's 1 or 2 things, and like that's it. Because when you're at that level, that's what it takes. But it's also, like it that's all it takes to kill someone, and then it also, like, it's one mistake. You drew your blade a second, a fraction of a second too soon, too late, whatever it is, and it's unsheathed and you're dead. That's what it is. But the Empire apparently knows that Kenobi is hiding on Tatooine, so why didn't they test the Death Star on the planet no one cared for? So obviously we have to talk about, any discussion like that has to be retroactive, right? Because, like, obviously when they made the first movie, they didn't know all of the things that we do now, right? The whole point back then was that they didn't know where Kenobi was. Tatooine didn't mean anything. Vader didn't know that Luke was his. We weren't exactly made aware of the fact that Vader knew either that Luke was his son or where he was, right? And so let's go with the assumption that back then they were still kind of going on this thing that Luke was Vader's son, and let's even give them that Vader knew Luke was on Tatooine. That's enough of the reason to not test the Death Star on Tatooine, is because Luke was there. And clearly Vader shows in Episode 2 that he wants Luke on his side. But by the time the events of Episode 4 are happening, Vader isn't looking to get his son as an apprentice or anything, or like whatever his potential plans for Luke are, right? So that is likely why, because they couldn't have just gone down there and gotten him, or essentially gotten him off the planet, or ensured that he was off planet before blowing it up. It may also be a spatial thing. We don't 100% know if the Death Star was capable of hyperspace travel, because we never see it. They don't really mention it, as far as I know. Like, from what I remember, we don't see it traveling through hyperspace. That being said, I don't know how it got to Alderaan and then to other places. Wouldn't be the first kid the Empire takes without asking. Okay, I'll give you that. They probably could have, but so I don't know if they could have from Tatooine, because the whole thing about Tatooine is that it isn't part of the Republic / the Empire. It's in the Outer Rim. It's backwater. Nobody cares about it, and the Hutts controlled it. So, with it, like the Empire was just the Republic, right? Like anything that was the Republic just got turned into the Empire. So Tatooine is out of that jurisdiction, and even the Empire wouldn't want to infringe on Hutt territory without a very good fucking reason to do so. And grabbing some 19-year-old moisture farmer kid who shoots rats for his for his pastime doesn't seem like a good justification to potentially start an entire war. would have been because of who they were, but nobody knew that. Um, uh, so I think that would have essentially been their reason why for that, right? And basically the same goes for why they didn't blow up Tatooine for with the Death Star was because so okay, let's say their purpose, like they know where Obi-Wan is, and obviously they want to kill him because he's a Jedi. Um, I don't think even the Empire would justify blowing up an entire planet that isn't within the Empire for a Jedi. They've shown that they'll definitely go to pretty, severe lengths. But I don't think they would have blown up the whole planet just on the off chance Obi-Wan was there for most of the other reasons that I already said. So just buy him as a slave from the Hutts. Also, the Empire was pretty present on Tatooine. That is true. They did, yeah. Hmm. Also, the difference is it. So I think the other misconception that we kind of get from like episode 1 and 2 is that um, everybody on Tatooine is either a slave or a slave owner, and it doesn't seem to be the case. Like slavery is legal on Tatooine, and it's clearly works, but I don't think the situation is like if you go up to someone and you're just like, I have this much money, you're my slave now. That necessarily works. Like I think you have to, because even then, like, so if we're kind of going with the thought of Anakin, um, him and his mother were a slave, but it wasn't even to the Hutts. It was to Watto. He's the one who owned them. Because they were bought in that the trade made at the pod race. So they were bought from Watto, not the Hutts. And I don't think the situation is like, hey, if you live on Tatooine, you're a slave of the Hutts. Like Luke and his aunt and uncle were, as far as we're aware, because we're never told anything different, free people who own their own business. They're moisture farmers. They're farmers. So I don't think the Empire could have gone in and bought him. And again, there's plenty of things they could have done, right? Like they could have, since they are business people, they could have gone down there and attempted to buy the farm. Obviously the Empire would have had enough money to buy a moisture farm on Tatooine, right? But then maybe that starts to arouse suspicion, because like I think Vader's whole thing as well with his admittance to Luke in episode 5 that he's his Luke's father, because his whole thing is like together we can rule the galaxy. So his plan is to make Luke to turn him to the dark side, make him his apprentice, and the two of them overthrow the Emperor and take over the galaxy. You wouldn't want the Emperor knowing about that, right? Even though the Sith have this understanding of, Bane's rule of two. There can only be one master, one apprentice, no more, no less. So as a master, as soon as you take on an apprentice, the purpose of that individual is to get strong enough for them to kill you, right? So it's not like the Emperor is unaware of the fact that Vader is looking for apprentices to overthrow him. Like, that's just a fucking thing. But you don't make it obvious. And I would think it would be relatively obvious if you went to Dad and asked him for a couple thousand credits to buy a moisture farm on Tatooine, because then he would be like, why? Like, I think that would kind of make it a little obvious. With a planet-destroying space station, I don't think the Hutts would be that much of a problem. Then call it hush money or compensation, which you pay the Hutts. Yeah, so again, I'm not saying it's, impossible. It just I think the big thing is there's no way. There's plenty of ways to go about it. You know, kidnap him, buy the farm. You know, plenty of ways to get Luke to Vader, but it's doing it without raising any suspicion to the Emperor, which is, I think, the bigger issue. Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
When are you wanting to start Shadowbringers?
Well, it's not going to be tonight.
You told me.
No, I told you that.
No.
I said it wasn't going to be tonight.
No, you told me it was tonight on stream.
No, I said I wasn't going to do that because you wouldn't be here. And by the time you get home, I end stream on Wednesday. Like,
Oh.
I'm about to...
Okay.
Yeah, like, I'm ending stream in a couple minutes.
That's not what you said. You didn't say that.
Okay. Yeah, so I think the issue isn't getting Luke. It's, one, doing so in a fashion that doesn't... well, I was going to say in a fashion that doesn't make him apprehensive to join Vader, although it's also, you know, kind of a bad time to, you know, tell him after you've been attempting to kill him and then cut his fucking hand off. Probably not the best time to be like, hey, by the way, I'm your dad. Do you want to come to work with me? So there is that, but I think the larger issue is trying to get him without raising any suspicion to the Emperor. And I think any sort of movement within the Empire, the Emperor is likely privy to that knowledge. So I would imagine anything Vader does, you know, is likely being tracked by the Emperor and, you know, keeping a very close eye on him. He just welcomed him into the Skywalker family. Yeah. Which, so that's the other thing too, is like, Luke and Leia, but like Luke is supposed to be a secret, right? Like, the whole point in hiding them and in separate locations was so that Anakin, you know, at that point Vader, did not know that they existed, much less knew where they were. And yet, as far as we know, Luke always had the last name of Skywalker. And again, not that he made a big name for himself at all in the galaxy, much less like even on fucking Tatooine, even in the city that they lived outside of. But you would think you could just look up, I don't know, just look up people named Skywalker and just be like, Luke? Didn't Padme and I talk about Luke as a potential name? Should probably check in on that. You know, like, it really seems like, I don't know, maybe it's different in a vast open galaxy. I don't know. Let's all just agree Ewoks equal amazing and Rey equals hot. So this is a very personal opinion. And I understand that many will disagree with me, and that is okay. I hate the Ewoks. I think they're annoying as shit. I don't think they're cute. I think they're ugly little bear bastards. And I think overall, their presence in episode 6 diminished my enjoyment of it. Jin was also quite hot. Who? Oh. Yeah, I thought she was pretty cute. Yeah, like in space Google, how many Skywalkers do you think died before Vader found Luke? Well, yeah. So I mean, yeah. Obviously, that's the other thing too. Is like it's just two basic words put together. So like, they can't be the yeah. Like they couldn't be like literally the only Skywalkers in an entire galaxy, right? So yeah, maybe there were others. Maybe there were. That would be such an interesting story of like, just imagine like on some random planet within the Empire, on Gagulon 5, there's just Greg Skywalker working in an office building somewhere, and then in comes Darth fucking Vader, and he's just like, together we can rule the galaxy, and you're like, I have a TPS report due at like 4, I can't really, and then he just cuts your fucking head off. uh yeah, like how could he possibly know if anyone with that name would like legitimately be related to him or not? And again, attempting to do so without alerting like the emperor or anything. um He'd be like, "You're not strong in the Force. You can't be my son." Yeah, yeah. Um, I would. That would definitely. It would. It legitimately would be to me a pretty interesting like a singular like novel or something like that that just follows someone else named. It just happens to have the last name of Skywalker, and just uh um like their life, uh like this novel is like a snippet of their life when like essentially like Vader finds out that there's a Skywalker out there, and so he's like trying to find them and hunt them down or whatever, and they have no fucking understanding of why. They just know that like the Empire, like they just get wind one day, they're like, hey, like the Empire is looking for you. Like there were like stormtroopers, and like Darth fucking Vader is on world right now, and it sounds like they're looking for you. Like you would lose your mind. Um, or if a Skywalker worked for the IRS. Hello, Mr. Vader. We believe you have some undeclared income. We suspect this is because of your fucking Death Star. I love Vader's appearance in Rogue One because, as far as the Rebels know, he's just a myth. Lightsabers, space magic, all that stuff is like a folk tale from history. And then one day, literally a fucking space sorcerer cryptid with a god sword just shows up. So here's the other thing too that we get like not conflicting information, but just yeah. So the feeling that you get from everything post episode 3, even not that long afterwards, is like, people don't believe in Force users and the Jedi and lightsabers, and yeah, they all call it, old folk tales and sorcery and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, that was that was less than 20 years ago. Like that would literally be like us being like, uh uh I don't know, I'm trying to like something from like the 80s or 90s that just like isn't around anymore, and being like, oh, you believe record players existed? Oh yeah, like you could put this big black disc on a thing and touch a needle to it and it plays music? Fuck you. And it's like, how is that so unbelievable? Like I'm literally we are in a ship going faster than light traveling through space right now, and the most wackadoo thing to think about is a laser sword and mind powers? Like that's ridiculous. Um Stormtrooper, what's your name? Chris Skywalker. Did you know your father? Yes? Huh. Damn. Another one off the list. Yeah, like, Vader's literally going around with like this. It's Star Wars, right? Everything's like, technologically advanced and everything, but you just see Darth Vader, this 7 foot tall, imposing, you know, sheer black, uh, uh, nightmare of a man, maybe going around with like a legal pad, just like, nope. Oh my god, that'd be so fucking incredible. Hello, Nova. Hello, my dear. What are you wanting, huh? You just wanting attention? Are you just wanting attention? Well, I'm sorry. There's the attention. There you go. Go see Mama. Um, um, we're seeing it all happen, so we know it's real. But that was on like three planets relatively close together out of an infinite number of planets. Nobody else that we see has ever seen a real Jedi, or maybe even knows anyone who has ever seen one. It sounds like tall tales from an old war, like how people after World War II were like, the Nazis harnessed the alien power of the Hollow Earth, and it was just because they had some good rocket scientists. That would be like in Robot Chicken, the Emperor on the escalator. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I get your point, Quotons, as well. Yeah, like it is easy for us to say because of how like prevalent it is and everything, but like, and I guess part of it could also be like, you know, people growing up post, post Republic and like during the Empire, like I would also imagine that with the like literal and like physical purge of the Jedi, they probably did all they could to purge all like information about the Jedi from public knowledge as well. So I don't, again, it's not focused on or necessarily seen or anything, but it also wouldn't surprise me if they said that the Empire did like a essentially like a smear campaign against them, or again like instituted some sort of thing that like if you were even caught talking about them, you'd like get thrown in a laser jail or something. uh Empire owned schools would never teach the truth either. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah, they'd probably just say something about a group called the Jedi who were, uh, uh, like warriors or like mercenaries in the Clone Wars, and then, it turned out that the entire thing was their planning and their fault, and so the brave Emperor, undid their plot, and has done a favor to rid the galaxy of the Jedi threat. Yeah, that's true. Um. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um. Yeah, I got you, man. That baby looks like Trey Young. I don't know who Trey Young is. Okay. Okay. I'll give you that. What else? What else? Corn sounds really good, actually. Hey, how's it going? How you doing, Blue Mist? We're uh we're looking at corn. So, um hmm. Oop, didn't mean to move that. I usually read chat out loud, but I think I'm going to abstain on that one. Um well, there's my search history. Uh Thankfully it's not actually as terrible as I thought it was going to be. Uh Oh, actually, you guys want to see one of my favorite pictures ever? This picture is so goddamn funny to me. It's just it's just this singular egg on what appears to be like some wooden surface in this black void, and it's the only thing lit, and there's just red text on it that says suspicious. I have no idea why. I love this picture so much. Oh, actually, I'll show you another one that I really really like that my partner Mana and I uh quote all the time to each other, especially when especially when one of our either when one of our pets does something cute or we see a tiny animal. Uh, God damn it. Mana, can you try and look that up for me? Well, I don't want to spoil it. The the white cat that's stuck in a Target shirt. Hold on. Well, didn't mean to do that. The baby, ooh, tiny baby. Can you try and find that picture for me? I know, like, you could just try and Google that. The problem is I'm Googling on stream, and that kind of ruins the whole joke. Just try and Google, like, cat tiny baby target or some shit. I really need to find that picture. Thank you very much. Okay, that's all I ask is an attempt to be made. Okay, well, great. Um, yes. Message it to me on something. uh, okay. I don't have you guys on screen. That's good. Okay. Um, I don't know why it took. I don't know why it was so hard to. Why I couldn't find that on Google. Probably. Let me make sure that I. Okay. Probably because I think it was like from a Reddit post. I love this picture. Uh, okay. Um, let me. If we were talking about PlayStation discs earlier, uh, I found this a while ago. It's one of my favorite pictures ever. Not necessarily because, like, I mean, like, it, it's cute enough because, like, oh, it's a cat stuck in, like, a little t shirt. But what makes us laugh about it is because, like, so this is clearly, like, a shirt from, like, Target, right? Because of, like, the thing. And it's a baby shirt, hence why it says baby. And the specific size for it is tiny baby. And these circles are again clearly just a like a branding thing, right? Like it's just a separation between the text of baby and then the text of like tiny baby up to 3 kilograms, right? But they look like O's. And so when we saw this, and again, every time we see our cats, or anytime we see like a tiny animal, or just our pets doing something cute, this is what we say. We're just like, baby. Oh, tiny baby. And maybe it's just funny to us. I don't know. But we say it all the time and it really gets us. Baby. Ooh, tiny baby. I love it so much. He's staying. Tiny baby can stay. We love you, tiny baby. What is this stream? He's just gonna stay right up there. That's where he lives now. Baby. Ooh, tiny baby. Nova. Come here. Hi. Hello. Hello, tiny baby. Hi. This is my tiny baby. This is my tiny baby. You're not tiny, though. You like to think you are, like most dogs. Hello. Do you need to go potty? Okay. I will be right back. forgot I left that up there. Fucking empty. Can I ask you to Google the pictures of a place? You can ask. I don't see why not. If it's just a place, and if that is hopefully not outside of Twitch's TOS and will get me banned, then yeah, absolutely. What are you looking for? Uh, can you Google copy and paste? Ooh. This place is beautiful. I know nothing's up on screen. God damn it. This? Is it this like specific castle or something? Either way, it's pretty gorgeous. It's a neat looking castle atop a hill. That's what I'm looking at. This is neat. I did a painting of beautiful location. Did you? For a class or just like because? I still see the beauty of the void, so I can't say. What a fucking sentence. Oh. Okay. I don't know why. Okay. That puts that message into much better context. Why are you not working? Okay, hold on. There we go. I have no idea why that wasn't working. Also, yes, for a class we did studies of famous locations. Gotcha. All right, there we go. Um, I am taking a small screenshot of that message to send it to a very specific friend of mine because they are the embodiment of the void. But yes, this is a very gorgeous location. Yes, that's it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this place is absolutely. The inside's a little gaudy. Not, not really to my taste. Goddamn beautiful, though. I'd love to be there. What an eyesore. Okay, quotons. What could you have possibly sent me? Oh, okay. It's actually legitimate. Forgive me for thinking for even a moment that it was going to be something stupid and ridiculous. The castle is in fact the inspiration for the Disney castle. Okay, interesting. Yeah, so that it's supposed to be so what people know as the Disney Castle is, I believe, the castle from Cinderella. Um, I mean, yeah, like I can absolutely see why. The it's I can see why in terms of it's a gorgeous location, it's a gorgeous building, and you can for sure see those influences, right? Like the white uh, uh, the white walls with like the tall towers and parapets with the blue pointed roofs. Uh, yeah, for sure. I can for sure see that. Um, but why is it famous? It is known as a castle of paradox. It was built in a time when castles were no longer necessary strongholds, and despite its romanticized medieval design, they also required it to have all the newest technological comforts. So basically, it was just a really rich dude trying to play D&D. It was just like, I want you guys to build me a castle. Okay, we don't really need castles anymore. I know, but like I want a castle, but give it like plumbing and shit. I mean, hey, I if if I were in the position to do so, I would build a castle as well, but also make sure it had like outlets and Wi-Fi and you know a flushable toilet. That's really neat. Um, if you want to see something neat from around where I'm from, uh, here's the disgusting river I live nearby. Yeah, that's those are the sights that I look forward to. It can be very picturesque in certain locations, but you know. Although I will say, I think part of the Ohio River is that like it's all like sediment and silt, right? Like it's not a river of shit. Although I have zero doubts that there is a ton of shit in that river. Garden of the Okay, yes, I will actually show a legitimate one. We do have the Garden of the Gods. Garden of the Gods. Uh, yeah. I haven't. I've been to one. What do you mean Colorado Springs? No. Is it in Indiana? Garden of the Gods Wilderness in Shawnee National Forest. Oh, it's Illinois. Okay. Shawnee National Forest, Illinois. Okay. Yeah, so like, we got some neat cliffs. Um that kind of looks like a butt. Um yeah, I've been to Garden of the Gods a handful of times, but only to one like super specific location that we went to every year for like a camping, but also not even camping. It was just like we didn't stay overnight. It was one day for like a chili cook off. Not even a cook off. We just literally went to one spot in Garden of the Gods to eat chili and explore like this small location that was like to the right of wherever we were, and then that was like kind of it. I've never like really hiked around it or anything. That'd be something really fun to do. It'd be an interesting stream if I could get a connection out there. Yeah, it's very pretty.
French dip sandwiches sometime.
Yes.
I'll
Seeing
ask,
as that's pretty much the only thing I get from Arby's, yes.
yeah, my mom is really good at making them, so I'll probably ask her.
Yeah.
Like just like her process.
Yeah.
So. I thought you said you were ending your stream soon.
I was, and then I got to talking about.
And then I didn't.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
Hi, Chad.
I will actually be soon, so we
You're
can get
good.
started
I'm
on
just
dinner
giving
because
you
I'm really
shit.
hungry.
Okay.
Okay.
I love you.
Me too. What up, bitch? She knows I'm joking. Yeah, it's probably the prettiest place that we've got close to us. Okay, one last thing I'll show, and then I do have to end stream so I can get dinner started. You guys will have to come to Turkey Run with me sometime before I move. It's the last remnant of the original ancient forest that used to cover the state pre-human intervention. That sounds incredible. It sucks that it's called Turkey Run. Do have a place near us called the Mammoth Caves, and they are really interesting. I really like them. I've only been like maybe once or twice, but they're super cool. Yeah. 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 Get. All right. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me for stream, everybody who did. Thanks to all the new follows we got today. If you liked the content today, if you liked me, stick around. Stream 3 times a week. I'm really heavily considering starting to stream every day, at least like a little bit, because almost every day I'm just like, sometimes I'm like sitting around waiting for something and just being like, I kind of want to stream. So I don't know. We'll see. Because I also really, I definitely don't want to like burn myself out on it either. Because I'm really trying to do this for the long haul. Like, I'm trying to be here. So so we'll see. But like I said, thanks for everyone who was here today. Next stream will be Saturday. Still, as usual, I have no idea what we'll be fucking doing. Probably playing something. So we'll see. But again, thanks for everyone for being here. If you want to check out more, want to see stuff I've done, go check out the YouTube channel. Link for it is on the Twitch profile. I can't customize a URL yet, so it's just a long string of nothing. So just click on the YouTube link. Go subscribe. Every VOD for stream will be up on the YouTube channel the next day. So the VOD for this stream will be up on the channel tomorrow. There's also links for the Twitter and the Facebook page, which are the best way to keep up to date with anything going on with stream. Other than that, guys, that's gonna be it. Oh, I'm going to do something that I always fucking say I'm going to do, and then I never do because I always forget. And we are going to raid somebody. So that is it for my stream, guys. Thanks for being here. I'm gonna look for someone to raid, and hopefully you guys can be placed onto a channel with someone whose content you also enjoy. Let's see if anyone's even live. There sure are. All right, guys. So that'll be it. That'll be it for me for today. Thank you guys so much for being here. Super appreciated. Love you guys. I'll see you on Saturday.